Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. A lot of finger actions.
People work on the radio. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Hi, John Fugelsang. Good morning.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Hakeem Jeffries, for showing us how it's done. You want to know what to do with George Santos, people? You do what Hakeem Jeffries does. You grab him by the ankles, and you pick him up, and you beat the Republican Congress with him. That's what you do with George Santos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I've been handed a disturbing prosecutors suggest any indictment in Trump election investigation would likely come in August. This is a lot of nipple circling. I was told July. This is the Georgia case. But, we
You
were just...
pull down my pants and taunt me, funny.
Oh, God.
But I have to say, John, I'm feeling pretty happy-clappy, given, I think there is clearly it feels like Jack Smith. Who was it? Ty Cobb.
Yeah.
Trump's lawyer said yesterday, I think Trump is going to prison. The feds are coming. And I mean, I don't know the time frame on Jack Smith, on documents, but, there certainly are a lot of significant developments. What do you think?
I think there's probably a reason Ron DeSantis is as smugly confident as he seems. That's what I think. Ron DeSantis's smugness level is the greatest indicator we have that Donald Trump really is going down. That might not be a good thing because,
Right.
I mean, Ron DeSantis always looks smug. Steph. Ron DeSantis always looks like he just stole Pee Wee Herman's bike and
Right.
got away with it. But he's Francis, in case you're wondering.
Yes, I got it. But
he's going to announce next week, and so we get to have a whole season of DeSantis and Trump tearing each other apart. And here's my prediction: watch for Christie to do much better in 2024 than he did in 2016. He's going to run, and Christie is going to unleash everything Christie on both of them. It's going to be ugly and gross. Get a tarp.
Well, right. We were saying, though, I don't know who the bigger implosion was yesterday, Jim Jordan or Ron DeSantis. But Ron DeSantis single-handedly lost $1 billion infrastructure investment from Disney in his state with, we were saying, what was it, 2,000 six-figure jobs? I mean...
I mean, I don't know if it was... But yeah, it was over. I didn't know it was 2,000, but it's huge. It's billions of dollars in revenue, billions of dollars. This was Disney's plan to move hundreds of people from California to Florida.
Yeah.
Literally, this is Ron DeSantis believing that the state should have the power to dictate what a corporation can and can't say. He's anti-business. And this is the same week he passed this ridiculously draconian anti-trans bathroom bill, which is him... you can't tell parents to make your kids wear a mask. This is Ron DeSantis literally having the power of the state get in between parents and their children and their doctor. These guys believe nothing.
Yeah. What is that about, John? You obviously talk a lot about love and religion. And there was a state legislator I just saw quoted, but she just was talking about them passing one of those bills. And she said, you hate him. My trans son, she was talking about. She said, you hate him more than you love your own family. The fact that the time and energy they're putting into these bills, right?
I think it's worse than that. The worst part about it is I don't even know if Ron DeSantis does hate trans kids. What I know is that the Republican Party has cynically decided the only way to win is to hate trans kids, just like the only way to win is to hate gay people who want to marry, or Muslims, or undocumented immigrants, whoever the oppressed minority du jour is. This is fascism 101. You pick the minority that has no power. Look at every fascist society, minority with no power, gypsies. Then you demonize them. You make the majority think they're under siege, existential threat. You sell yourself as the only person who can protect you from this evil minority in your midst. And then you just demagogue. And we've seen what this does throughout our whole human history. It's not the bigots. It's the calculating non-bigots who pretend to be bigots. And this is the fake Christianity. They literally believe the only way to get Christians to vote for you is to crap on the least of my people.
Yeah. So Ron DeSantis has apparently, in a phone call with donors, says he's in the race. We're hearing next week, I guess, sometime. This will be great timing
Wednesday.
For the pro-business party.
Yeah, I've seen Wednesday.
After he just blew up all this business with Disney. But he said, you have basically three people at this point that are credible in this whole thing, Biden, Trump, and me. And I think of those three, two have a chance to get elected, Biden and me, based on all the data in the swing states, which is not great for Trump and probably insurmountable because people aren't going to change their view of him.
Right. He's right.
Yeah. I mean, I have to get your take. I was reading a Palmer Report tweet this morning, and I think our friend Hal Sparks, former fellow sexy liberal, has said this, that he just said he's not in the race. This is another big grift and I don't know at what point he's going to get out, but this is a grift for him to,
Donald Trump?
keep making money until he goes to prison, until he's charged or whatever. And I have that sense too. I'm just like, and I guess, John, the question is, what's better for us? Because I think he would lose in a landslide if he's the nominee. So how long do we root for him to stay in, I guess is the question.
I know it's dangerous, but I'm rooting for him to stay in. I think Ron DeSantis is a greater threat to democracy than Donald Trump. Now, don't get me wrong. DeSantis is an embarrassing, doughy mediocrity, a moral atrocity. I can't decide if he is the Rick Perry of Ted Cruz's or if he's the Scott Walker of George W. Bush's. I'm really working on that. But I've said this since last year. He's a greater threat to Biden's reelection than Trump. That's why I know it's a dangerous way of playing chicken with karma. But I feel much better with Trump having the nomination because I don't think Trump can win it. Joe Biden has just hired Cesar Chavez's granddaughter to run his campaign. That's how serious Democrats are trying to get about Latino outreach, focusing on, of course, 4 key swing states. I think that it's going to be a tough one. I'm already sick of it, but Ron DeSantis has over $100 million in the bank already, and he hasn't even announced yet. This is just getting started.
What did you say his he was going the slogan he was going to run on?
Make America Florida is apparently what they're talking about. Make America Florida.
Seriously?
Yeah, make America. No, they're going to have us all leave our turn signal on while we drive because the sound keeps us awake, just like in Florida. Make America Florida. Come here for the climate and then stay indoors with air conditioning to avoid the climate. Make America Florida.
Yeah.
I guess, again, politically, we have to thank Trump because he can't help himself from bragging and him going, I'm responsible for Roe v. Wade. You can imagine.
Listen,
you can hear Republicans like, shut up, because they're losing election after election. So I guess you have to go, keep him out front, talking about, what 70% of Americans are against, right?
Trump isn't just going to raise money for Democratic candidates. Trump's going to drive women to the polls and drive young people to the polls to vote for Democratic more than Ron DeSantis will. But again, Ron DeSantis' super PAC is doing all the Oppo research on Trump you need. His super PAC put out a list of talking points and lies of Trump after CNN. And Trump's post on Filth Social about Ron DeSantis, I mean, they're both doing the Democrats' job for them. These two guys are going to spend the next year tearing each other to shreds. But remember, Steph, it's not a party. You can't pop your popcorn until Rudy and Trump turn on each other. That's going to be
getting close, I think. Yeah.
Porn for the angels.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Roe v. Wade, you just said, remember, criminalizing abortion has nothing to do with what Jesus actually taught, but it's a lot easier than following his actual inconveniently liberal teachings. There you go. Not to mention that it's wildly politically unpopular.
Well, but I mean, I'm sorry, the Democrats have got to start taking the Bible back from the hypocrites. I'm not saying Democrats need to start doing a Christian act. Don't do that at all. But take away their camouflage, take away their spiritual armor. Look, right now we're seeing these people calling the subway strangler the Good Samaritan, the subway Samaritan. That's literally how toxic right-wing Christianity is. Ron DeSantis called him a Good Samaritan. Can I just say, the Good Samaritan in the Bible saw a sick person discarded by society and gave them care out of pocket. The come up from behind the mentally ill homeless guy's back and choke him until you crush his windpipe and it's not in self-defense Samaritan, that guy's not in the Bibles. Right-wing people don't read the Jesus parts, and you don't need to believe it to use it against them.
Yeah.
It's Fake Christian Friday every Friday on our show.
Yeah.
We call out most revoltingly fake Christian.
Tweeted, what do right-wing Christians who call asylum seekers illegals all have in common? A, they're not actually Christian. And I guess the height of that was, I can't even was it Abbott? Like referring to human beings who were slaughtered as illegals, not even humans.
Illegals.
I mean, it's
illegal immigrants. Because God forbid, he said, the guy who slaughtered, 5 men, women, and children. God forbid, he says, the guy who slaughtered 5 people, 5 souls. But he has to go for the slur. And here's what you need to know. Just as you'll never hear Donald Trump or Megyn Kelly call a white man a thug, only black men, ask yourself, and listen to your loved ones on the right, have you ever heard them call a white lawbreaker an illegal?
Yeah.
Donald Trump's an illegal. He stole from vets with a fraudulent online university.
Yeah.
He's an illegal. But that is a slur reserved just for brown people. And again, the majority, I think I said this last week, sorry to repeat, the majority of undocumented immigrants are people who overstay their visas.
Yeah.
They're just using the racism of a powerless group, undocumented immigrants, to try to scare white people. It's the same fascism 101 existential threat because they got nothing to offer.
Yeah. I love when you speak Bible to me. As you know, you said
Please.
the American
Yes.
Medical Association and American Psychiatric Association both confirm that being transgender is not a mental disorder, and the Jesus parts of the Bible confirm that trans discrimination is not Christian. You said 33 years ago today, the General Assembly of the World Health Organization eliminated homosexuality from the list of psychiatric diseases. Homophobia, transphobia, and biphobia are still contagious, though. Thank you.
It's the anniversary. And by the way, that's the same day as the 19-year anniversary of Massachusetts beginning the first ever same-sex marriages in 2004. So it's like we've come a long way. It was only in 1990 that the World Health Organization stopped calling homosexuality a disorder. The American Psychiatric Association did it in the early 70s.
Yeah.
But the World Health Organization came out 6 years ago and said that being transgender or gender dysphoria, which not all trans people have, is not a mental disorder. But the prejudice causes mental disorders. The prejudice does cause illness.
Yeah.
And by the way, APA and American Medical Association all say it's not a mental illness.
I have often said being gay
calling out these bigots
is only dirty if you're doing it right, John.
Right?
Yeah, and I nearly put my eye out doing it last week.
You did? Oh, God.
I don't know if you heard.
Not nearly. You did.
I don't think he heard about that.
I was off Monday because I had a lesbian oral sex eye injury. It's not important now, John. I'll explain it to you in detail.
It's actually very important. I'm kind of trying to understand how that happens. Can you'll have to. Do you have those puppets?
I literally almost took my own eye out, and I will tell you very slowly and in detail at the next Sexy Liberal. I would get a ticket for that because I'll give all the details at the Sexy Liberal show October 21st.
Will you demonstrate?
Yes, here in LA.
Oh.
Those
That's
tickets,
a promise.
those tickets may be gone now. They were already going fast. Okay.
I have so many jokes, but I don't want to get you guys bleeped again.
Yes. You are also the official Stephanie Miller Show historian. I don't know if you know, but someone tweeted Lincoln's Republican Party is not the Republican Party of today. They would boot Lincoln out of the Republican Party if he was alive today. And you said Lincoln was literally murdered by a white supremacist conservative. Thank you.
That's
official
it.
conservative.
Lincoln was killed by the Confederate sympathizer. Lincoln was the liberal reformer. John Wilkes Booth was the conservative who didn't want the status quo to change. The armed white supremacist, nationalist, Southern conservative killed the liberal reformer president. It doesn't matter these party names. They'll keep saying, well, Democrats started the KKK. Yeah, that's right. The Democrats used to be a racist party. I have no trouble admitting that. I'm not in a cult. Find me a KKK member that's voted Democrat in the last 60 years. This is how they cling to their tower of lies. Same with the Nazis. National Socialist Party, see? So universal health care is like Nazis. And it's like Hitler rounded up the socialists before he rounded up anybody else. There was a poem about it. These guys are trying to change history itself.
Yeah.
That is the right-wing playbook. They're trying to alter what history was. So the Klan and the segregationists and the Nazis are somehow the progressives. And guess what? There's enough dumb white people to believe it.
Yeah. Also, you are the official film historian of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Yes, I am.
You tweeted Before the Devil Knows You're Dead is the last great Albert Finney movie, the last great Philip Seymour Hoffman movie, and the last great Sidney Lumet movie, all at the same time.
Sorry, we geek out quite a bit in the late night hours on our show.
Wow.
Republicans say they won't cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But can honest, hard-working middle-class Americans really believe what these politicians say? Republicans said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's what Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett said during their Senate confirmation hearings.
Roe v. Wade. It is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. A good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court.
Roe v. Wade. It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court.
Roe is not a super precedent, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Well, we saw how that turned out. They played us for fools. Tell your elected officials to keep their hands off of our Social Security and health care benefits. Fool me once. Let Majority Rule was responsible for this message. LetMajorityRule.org is a project of the Marvin Lucas Super PAC, which is responsible for and paid for this ad and is not affiliated with or authorized by any political campaign or candidate or candidates committee.